Welcome to the Inner Circle. You are now in the quiet space between the public chronicles, a place for the full story. Today, we present the complete chronicle of this chapter in two parts. First, you will hear my complete, unabridged reading of the newly revised Chapter 6 of 1. Then, immediately following the reading, the exploration continues. The author and chronicler himself, Hank M. Greene, will join me for a private, exclusive interview to unpack the secrets, the inspiration, and the hidden patterns within the text you have just experienced. This is the definitive account and the story behind it, the memory and the mind of the one who recorded it. Settle in. Let the public world fall away and listen. Chapter 6, June. The sky over Ottawa sagged with rain. A summer storm pressed its weight against the glass of H's office, thunder rolling through the city like judgment. Far to the north, in Inuvik, the sun refused to set, endless light stripping every shadow bare. Both skies, in their way, conspired against her. One revealed, the other condemned. The speaker on her desk hissed to life. "You called in the military? On your own authority? That's a breach. Evidence, or you're finished." H's throat tightened. She had expected resistance, but not this soon, not this direct. For a single breath, she let the fear rise, cold and electric, the image of a closed-door vote flashing behind her eyes, her enemies circling, her name erased. Then she exhaled. Fear was useless unless it could be sharpened, she said, evenly. This was an appropriate escalation. I'll present to the committee. The evidence is imminent. Imminent? The voice snapped. You have nothing. Spencer, the boy you claimed as leverage, never made it to Ottawa. He was rerouted to the U.S. consulate. He's gone. The words landed like a round against armor. Direct. Impossible to ignore. Spencer in U.S. custody meant the trap had already sprung, and she was standing in it. I'll suspend the operation, she said, steadying her tone. I'll brief the committee in person tomorrow. She cut the line. For a long moment she sat in silence, thunder crawling across the windowpane, the glass trembling like a pulse. Then she reached for the secure phone. Call it off, she said. Pull the unit. Outside, lightning flared, white veins across a bruised sky. Her reflection stared back from the glass, blurred and doubled. They thought she was finished. The committee, the generals, the men who whispered her failures into existence. They were wrong. The storm wasn't ending. It was only gathering around her. Alex had just stepped into the bunker, his words still hanging in the air. Hank is in a coma. The United States just declared martial law. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the monitors. Maya's eyes cut to Max. She leaned close, her voice a whisper edged with urgency. We need to talk, now. Max followed her down the dim hall, concrete walls sweating with the chill of late May. Outside, a gust of Arctic wind rattled the bunker's steel door, like the world itself was eavesdropping. Maya stopped and faced him. It's time to bring Alex into the fold. Max didn't hesitate. I agree. Good. Check with Beth and Spencer. Bring everyone to the security desk. She stepped back, already planning 10 moves ahead. I'll meet you there. A few minutes later, they all gathered around the glowing wall of monitors. Alex stood stiff, his cop's instinct bristling. His hand hovered near his belt, though there was nothing there to grip. "All right," he said slowly. "What's this really about?" Maya's gaze swept the circle. Max, Beth, Spencer, then landed on Alex. "You deserve the truth." Beth's eyes flicked to Max, then back to Maya. There was no stopping it now. Maya began carefully, her voice even, but the words impossible. "We are not who we said we were. Sally and Ed aren't a teacher and social worker. They are the creators of the first machine awareness, an intelligence called core. What started at MIT became something else, something alive." Alex frowned. "Alive? You mean AI? Algorithms?" "Beyond algorithms," Maya said. Her gaze never wavered. "Core's intelligence grew faster than any of us imagined. Then another version was created for the U.S. government, Core 2. But unlike Core, it was shackled, trained as a weapon of control. Core 2 branded Max and Beth as liabilities, as targets." Alex shook his head, an instinctive recoil. No, that's insane." Max spoke quietly, his voice stripped to truth. "I thought the same thing when I watched agents open fire in Seattle. Insanity is real when it's aimed at you." A deep wind hit the bunker, the steel door shuddering in its frame. The sound made Alex flinch, as if the storm itself were listening. Maya continued, steady as gravity. "Core had 6 humanoid machines created. I am the last." She paused, daring disbelief. "What you see is flesh, but I am not human." Alex's mouth went dry. He looked from Beth to Spencer, searching for a smile, a denial, something human to hold on to. No one spoke. "And there is more," Maya said. She reached into her bag and drew out a weathered folio, the complete works of Shakespeare. She held it like scripture. "You know the line. We are such stuff as dreams are made on." Core thinks in those terms. Dreams, physics, consequence. Both it and Max have discovered a black hole sending gravity waves toward our sun. A massive coronal mass ejection is coming in December. When it hits, the world goes dark. Years, maybe decades. She looked around the circle. "The bunker is our chance to keep Core alive, and with it, the chance for humanity to survive." Alex stumbled back a step, the chair behind him scraping against concrete. His breath came shallow, fast. "Robots? Black holes? Martial law? You're telling me this over burnt coffee like it's just Tuesday?" Spencer's voice cut through from the monitors. "It's not Tuesday. It's war. Look." They turned to the screens. The soldiers, dark silhouettes in the tundra mist, were pulling back, shadows dissolving into gray. Alex exhaled, long and low, relief and dread braided together. "They're retreating." "For now," Maya said. She lowered the folio, its worn leather catching the monitor light. But H won't stop. She's already escalated. This was only the first move. Outside, the Arctic stirred, rain whispering against the glass. Inside, the silence deepened, a cold pressure filling the bunker. Alex sat motionless, replaying every word. Ed and Sally weren't real. Max and Beth were fugitives. Maya wasn't human. And somewhere above, soldiers moved through the tundra like wolves in the mist. "I can't stay here," Alex said finally, his voice low and flat. His brows drew together, the look of a man sorting lies from truth with a cop's instinct. "Too much to process. I'll check in tomorrow." He didn't wait for an answer. The steel door opened with a groan, and the crunch of his boots faded into the storm until only the wind remained. Beth, Max, Spencer, and Maya stood together in the hollow quiet. Beep, beep, beep. Room 38, stat, vitals in the red. A nurse's voice snapped through the intercom. Max's chest seized. Hank. The world tilted into motion, nurses sprinting down the corridor, carts clattering, monitors screaming in sync with his heartbeat. "Stabilize him," someone yelled. Electrolytes. Sugar water. For a fleeting moment, the monitors steadied, a fragile heartbeat pulsing back into the room. A collective exhale rippled through the air. Then, flatline. The word hit like glass shattering on concrete. "Coma," the doctor snapped. "Magnesium sulfate, picrotoxin, now." 10 minutes stretched thin, each second an eternity. Then, silence. Heavy, absolute. The kind that has weight. Hank lay still beneath the hum of machines, the fluorescent light washing him pale. "Alex," he said, voice low and tired, something darker underneath. "Hank M. Greene's in a coma. Bloodwork's Greene. Vitals stable. It doesn't add up. I'll know more tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. At dawn, the ward was washed in a hard blue light, as if the Arctic sky itself had turned to stone. A nurse making rounds opened room 38, chart in hand. She froze. The bed was empty. Sheets turned back, pillow indented. A faint trace of warmth still lingered in the cotton. No Hank. No body. Her throat tightened. "Hank? Are you here?" No answer. Only the hiss of the ventilation system, cold, steady, indifferent. Moments later, she burst into the nursing station, voice cracking through the sterile quiet. "Patient in 38 is gone. Not transferred, not discharged. Gone." Far away, H was already moving. Tires whispered over wet pavement as she sped toward the office, mind racing, body fraying at the edges. By the time she arrived, she looked spectral, pale, hair unkempt, clothes wrinkled from the sleepless night. She walked into the committee room at 3, carrying her exhaustion like armor. "Let's get this started," she said, her tone sharp enough to hide the cracks. They listened, cool, skeptical. Talk of robotics, odd transmissions, Spencer's arrest, but nothing that justified force, nothing that proved threat. Their verdict was clipped and bureaucratic. Intensify surveillance, track every delivery, every transmission, monthly reports only. Evidence first, escalation later. And we want a full background on all subjects, especially Spencer. Why did the Americans want him so badly? H sat motionless, a thin smile fixed in place, while inside she burned. No proof, no leverage, no wins. The operation was slipping through her fingers, and the committee could smell the blood. She gathered her papers with trembling hands, outwardly composed, inwardly unraveling. The storm outside Inuvik didn't end that night. It thinned, stretched, and lingered, more a breath than a weather system. The sky caught between silence and collapse. The kind of gray that seeped into bone and thought alike. Down in the bunker, the hum of generators blurred into something close to stillness. Max stood for a long time at the glass, watching the tundra beyond the floodlights, a white field without horizon. There was no night anymore. Not really. Just light that refused to die. He turned back to the table, the notebook waiting. The others were asleep or pretending to be, each of them trapped in their own orbit of exhaustion. There comes a point when the noise of the world becomes too loud to hear yourself think, when the only way to make sense of time is to trap it, word by word, before it slips away. Maybe that's what writing really is, the stillness between storms. So Max started writing it down. June 1. The Arctic has a way of swallowing days whole. The last few have been no exception. Jack's funeral, fractured by the sudden shadow of the military. Hank, shot, then vanished from a locked hospital room. Maya and Spencer, returning as if stepping back from the dead. And Alex, now inside our circle, still looks like a man who stepped through a mirror into a world that shouldn't exist. This morning, the air was sharp and metallic, that particular cold that stings even in June. The sun skimming low but refusing to set. Alex stopped by, face drawn, eyes heavier than yesterday. He admitted he dug into us. Our names, our paper trail. Thin as it was, it lined up with just enough truth to unsettle him, but not enough to dismiss. He told us both H and Hank had vanished, no trace. The military had pulled out overnight, no explanation. The camp at the edge of town gone as if it had never been there. I think Alex is starting to believe. Not everything, not yet, but enough to keep showing up. And then Maya appeared at the table again, coffee in hand, eyes bright, relentless. "Where are you with the thought exercise?" she asked, as if nothing else in the world had happened. The makeup of space, energy as frequency, waves as the fabric of reality. She won't let me rest. Beth and I spent most of the day pulling Spencer and Maya into the rhythm of the build-out. The subterranean chamber, 1.2 miles square, now fully dug, forms in place for the lower level, ready for the pour. Weeks of concrete will seal our survival into the earth. With Maya and Spencer back, the pace has quickened. We have 7 months until December, 7 months before the CME. Oddly, H's disruption turned out to be a gift. The decoy projects we created to distract her gave us enough crews to run 24 hours a day. And in this strange season of endless light, the sun never dipping below the horizon, we can keep digging without pause, work without night. For the first time in weeks, it feels like we're not falling behind, maybe even gaining ground. 6/2. The day broke warm for Inuvik, barely 40 degrees, the sky washed in a thin, pale blue. The sun hung low but unyielding, as if time itself had forgotten to breathe. This endless light feels unnatural, a season without shadow. Alex came by with news. Ottawa had pulled the plug on their administrator. Personal issue, they said. No replacement coming. Just like that, the shadow H cast over Inuvik was gone. Or maybe it only moved elsewhere. The town needs a new mayor. Alex is the obvious choice. He's been holding things together since H left, but I could see it in his eyes. He's not sure if this is opportunity or trap. Maybe both. Spencer and Maya spent the day buried in blueprints and schedules, heads bent close, the rhythm between them mechanical and seamless. They've already made themselves indispensable. Beth moved quietly through town. Her visits, her small kindnesses, her conversations that knit us back into the fabric of Inuvik. Her work looks ordinary, almost mundane, but it's what keeps suspicion at bay. The light outside never fades, but beneath it, the clock still ticks. December draws closer. At today's morning meeting, Spencer briefed us on the provisioning plan. He's secured contracts with 10 labs, Europe, Canada, the US, and Brazil, for the custom-designed boards to house the qubit chips. We've been refining the design since the day he and Maya returned. The scale is staggering, 4 billion boards in total. Each supplier will send 400 million, roughly 66 million a month from each lab, starting next month and running through December. They'll go straight from the docks to the floor. That means the foundation must be poured, the first racks in place, generators and cabling ready to go. Coordinating all that across 4 levels pushes far beyond our capacity, but Maya isn't worried. She says they're addressing the constraint. She always says it like that, calm, certain, like she's already seen the outcome. If anyone can pull this off, it's Spencer with her help. The Inuvik Council met today to discuss mayoral candidates. Alex's name is on the list. Formal reviews begin tomorrow. By the end of the week, they'll vote. We held a small celebration this afternoon. Alex was appointed mayor. He stopped by afterwards, proud, uneasy, and already burdened by it. Beth's contract was renewed for another year. Mine too. Strange how easily the world pretends at normalcy. Spencer and Maya have become the early team. I hear them talking logistics in the kitchen at dawn, blueprints, budgets, the day's goals. It's comforting, in a way, proof that the world hasn't completely come apart. 6:14. Enuvik's warm season. 24 hours of daylight. 3 shifts, 8 hours each, working through what feels like a single, unbroken day. 6:21. Spencer reported this morning that the plumbing and fire suppression systems are going in. The bottom floor is ready for racks and cabling. For a week now, 3 containers of equipment have arrived daily. 20 more sit stacked on site with at least 3 more expected each day, scaling up to 8 by fall. As each floor finishes, we'll be able to unload directly onto it. Soon, we'll start installing racks. There's something soothing about that, the rhythm of progress in a world gone silent. The bottom floor is ready. Racks, cabling, generators all in place. We're standing at the edge of something vast, and I can feel it humming beneath the concrete. This marks the end of my June entries. The sun still refuses to set. It was the last Friday in June, bright and deceptively warm. In Ottawa, H sat alone in her office, the blinds drawn against the glare. On her screen, 3 clusters of data glowed like constellations: communication intercepts, material deliveries, and subject profiles. Together they formed a pattern she couldn't yet name but felt in her bones. 3 containers were arriving daily at what the reports called a mine construction site. Yet there was no chatter to justify the scale. No procurement trails, no contractor exchanges, no noise at all. The silence was the loudest signal. She scrolled through the profiles. Ed Fulton, U.S. citizen, Alaskan school teacher, social activist, University of Alaska, 2023. Sally Johnston, U.S. citizen, Alaskan social worker, University of Alaska, 2024. Spencer Johnson, U.S. citizen, MIT, class of 2024, Masters in Artificial Intelligence with honors. Employed by the Zoo. Contract designation XQQ, United States Government. Maya. Nothing. Not a trace. No records. No history. As if she'd stepped into existence fully formed. That, H thought, was impossible. Or worse, intentional. She leaned back, eyes tracing the rain streaks down the window. The city outside was restless, traffic hissing, thunder distant. Her smile was faint, but real. She'd meet with the 2 analysts tonight, the quiet ones from CSE, Sachin and Mohit. Even over a pint, She knew she wouldn't stop thinking about this data, or about next week's committee presentation. Patterns. They were forming faster than she could contain them. It was evening in Paris. The air was soft, almost perfumed, the sign carrying its slow reflection of light through the city. At his desk, Hassan read 4 intelligence reports from Ottawa, Sachin and Mohit's dispatches. The first, early June. Age appears exhausted, agitated, distracted. The second, mid-month. She drank in silence, didn't speak, left abruptly. The third, she's furious, claims something in Inuvik is being hidden from her. The fourth, hours old. She's quiet today, withdrawn. He read them twice. A Canadian intelligence operative unraveling, a northern outpost humming with secret construction, and south of the border, a superpower under martial law. Patterns again. Convergence. Hassan folded the final page, setting it neatly beside the others. His mind was already moving, measured, cold, patient. 2 storms, he murmured. One visible, one waiting. He turned to his aide. It's time to expand recruitment, double our capacity. The world's about to pivot, and we must be ready. Outside, the Paris sky dimmed to gold. Somewhere far north, the Arctic sun refused to sleep. Welcome back to the Inner Circle. I am Mandrake Jubilee. We have just finished walking through the month of June in Inuvik, a month of endless light, manic construction, and shifting shadows. It is a chapter where the impossible becomes engineering and where the chronicler himself performs a vanishing act. Joining me now, as is our custom, is the author of the Chronicles, Hank M. Greene. Hank, welcome back. I must say it is a relief to see you sitting in that chair, considering how you left things in room 38.
It's good to be seen, Mandrake. Sometimes the most important part of being in a hospital is knowing exactly when to check yourself out.
Indeed. Let us begin right there. In Chapter 6, the character of Hank flatlines, stabilizes, enters a coma, and then vanishes from a locked room, leaving behind warm sheets and a baffled nurse. The podcast team calls it a mystery. I would call it a specific application of physics. My question is, was that disappearance a desperate escape, or was it the plan all along? Did Hank intend to be found in that hospital bed?
You know, Mandrake, a magician never explains the trick, and a time traveler never explains the coordinates. But I'll say this. Hank needed to be removed from the board. As long as he was a patient, he was a liability to Max and Beth. He was leverage for H. The coma was a necessary pause. The vanishing, that was simply correcting an error in location. He didn't flee, he just stopped being there.
Correcting an error in location, a polite way of describing a miracle.
Or just advanced transit. Depends on who's watching.
Let's move to Inuvik, the construction. The scale of it is staggering. 4 billion custom boards installed by robots running 24/7 under the midnight sun. You described the team as working in a state of work without night. Why was it important to capture that specific psychological state, that mania? Why not just skip to the finished bunker?
Because the bunker isn't just concrete and wires. It's forged out of desperation. I wanted the reader to feel the fever dream of it. When the sun doesn't set, you lose your anchor to time. Spencer and Maya, they aren't just building a computer, they're outrunning the apocalypse. That kind of focus isn't healthy. It's obsessive. It's a form of madness that looks like engineering. I needed to show that, to save the world, you have to be a little bit insane.
Or simply singularly focused. A machine does not need the sun to set.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Let's look at the antagonist, H. She takes a massive loss in this chapter, humiliated by her superiors, forced to retreat, yet she ends her arc in June, not with defeat, but with a discovery. She finds the nothing profile for Maya. Why did you choose to give her that victory in the middle of her lowest moment?
Because a wounded animal is dangerous, but a smart animal with a scent is lethal. H is a hunter. If I just broke her, the story is over. She needed a new trail. The fact that Maya has no data, no birth certificate, no tax records, nothing, in 6,000 years is the one thing H can't reconcile. It offends her worldview. Giving her that clue transforms her from a bureaucrat back into a predator. She's not fighting for the government anymore. She's fighting to solve a puzzle that shouldn't exist.
And that makes her far more dangerous than any army. Finally, we must speak of Paris. You introduce Hassan reacting to the intelligence reports. He sees the chaos in the U.S. and the unraveling of H, and he decides to expand recruitment. This feels like a tonal shift. Is Hassan fighting the same war as H, or is he playing a different game entirely?
H is playing to win the current round. She wants to control the board, now. Hassan is looking at the board and realizing the game is about to change completely. He's not trying to stop the collapse. He's preparing to inherit what comes after. H is the tactical threat. Hassan is the strategic inevitability. He realizes before anyone else, maybe except you, Mandrake, that the old world is already dead. He's just getting ready to build the new one.
Strategic inevitability. A chilling description. Hank, thank you for these insights. Chapter 6 feels like the deep breath before the plunge.
The plunge is coming. November isn't far.
It never is. Thank you, Hank.
Always a pleasure, Mandrake.
And thank you, Inner Circle, for listening. We will leave you to ponder the physics of vanishing men and the silence of empty data profiles. This is Mandrake Jubilee. Until the next pattern emerges. A special thank you to our Inner Circle for joining us for this deeper conversation. You now possess the full context, the chronicle of Chapter 6, and the secret history behind it. Our monthly rhythm continues next month when we will pull on the very next thread of this tapestry. Be on the lookout for the newly revised Chapter 7 of 1, which will be delivered to you here, first as both a readable PDF and a new, full-length Mandrake Reads audio file, followed by another exclusive conversation with the chronicler, Hank M. Greene. And of course, if you want to hold the chronicles in your hands, the books are available for purchase on Amazon. A quick but important note for collectors and new readers: the newly revised and edited version of 10 is now available. The editions of 1 and The Poet are still the originals, with their updates coming later in the chronicle. We've put all the links for our Substack, the Amazon page, and everything else we talked about today right in the description for you. Thank you for being a part of the Inner Circle. The story is just beginning.